You were taught to be decent, obedient, and grateful, so you learned to lose quietly, while others inherited power, leverage, and permission. If this feels uncomfortable, stay. Chapter 1. The inheritance you never received. You were not raised to dominate, you were raised to behave, to wait, to trust, to believe that effort would be noticed and loyalty would be rewarded. That was the inheritance you received. Not power, not strategy, but compliance disguised as virtue. Your father likely taught you to be honest. He did not teach you to be dangerous. He taught you respect. He did not teach you positioning. He taught you patience. He did not teach you timing. And because of that, you learned to survive inside rules written by men who never intended to share the throne. You were trained to ask for permission in a world that only respects assumption. You were trained to explain yourself in a world that only respects certainty. You were trained to wait your turn in a hierarchy that advances only those who take it. This is not about blaming him. He gave you what he was given. But inheritance is not about intention. It is about consequence. And the consequence is simple. You entered adulthood fluent in morality and illiterate in power. Look at who rises. Look at who decides. Look at who is protected. They do not move with the emotional posture you were taught. They do not apologize for wanting more. They do not confuse kindness with weakness or loyalty with safety. You were taught to be a good son. You were not taught to be a sovereign man. And that difference is why you feel late, why you feel unseen, why you feel capable but blocked, why you feel intelligent but replaceable. The system did not reject you. It absorbed you exactly as designed. This chapter is not here to comfort you. It is here to remove the lie that you were ever prepared. You were prepared to obey. Now you must prepare to replace the version of yourself that made that acceptable. Chapter 2. The Obedience Engine. You were never controlled by chains. You were controlled by incentives. The system does not rule you with force. It rules you with hope, with approval, with the promise that if you behave correctly, you will be chosen. That promise is the leash. Machiavelli understood this. People do not obey because they are weak. They obey because they want safety, belonging, and validation more than sovereignty. Fear does not keep them inside the system. Desire does. You were trained to seek permission from those who profit from your compliance. You were trained to measure your worth through external reactions. Praise became currency. Rejection became punishment. Over time, your instincts were replaced by calibration. You stopped asking what you wanted. Chapter 3. The Sons of Different Fathers. Every man is raised by a different father. Not the one in his house, the one in his head. Some were raised by power, some by fear, some by comfort, some by absence. You can see it in how they move. The groomed heir walks like the world owes him continuity. He was trained to inherit, not to build. He speaks in confidence, but his confidence depends on protection. Remove the structure and he collapses. The loyal worker walks like effort is enough. He believes sacrifice will be noticed. He waits for fairness like a delayed inheritance. He confuses endurance with progress. The polite beggar smiles while bleeding. He believes kindness will save him. He negotiates his own worth in small, careful sentences. He does not demand. He requests, and he is never chosen. Then there is the silent architect. He does not explain. He does not ask. He does not perform. He studies. He withdraws. He recalibrates. He understands that society does not reward virtue. It rewards positioning. He understands that visibility without leverage is exposure. He understands that sympathy is a currency used only by those who lack control. Most men think they are choosing their path. They are not. They are repeating the emotional education they received. You can identify a man's internal father by how he handles disrespect, by how he handles silence, by how he handles rejection, by whether he adapts or apologizes. The tragedy is not that most men are weak. The tragedy is that most men are loyal to a version of themselves that was trained for a world that no longer exists. And you are somewhere in this hierarchy, not where you claim to be, where your behavior places you. The moment you see which father raised you, the illusion breaks. And when the illusion breaks, the archetype dies. That is not growth, that is replacement. Chapter 4. The Inheritance of Power. History does not move because of morality. It moves because of leverage. Empires were not built by kindness. They were built by men who understood timing, fear, loyalty, and controlled cruelty. Every structure you admire today was once defended by force, deception, or silent agreement. You were not taught this. You were taught to behave. You were told that goodness would protect you, that honesty would be rewarded, that patience would be noticed. These were not lessons. They were sedatives. They kept you useful, predictable, replaceable. Look at every ruling class in history. They did not rise because they were better people. They rose because they understood human weakness faster than others. Chapter 5. Strategic posture. You don't change your fate by working harder. You change it by repositioning yourself. Most men exhaust themselves inside games they did not design. They chase approval from people who gain from their obedience. They speak when silence would give them leverage. They explain when ambiguity would protect them. They react when stillness would dominate. Strategy begins where emotion ends. You stop advertising your intentions. You stop begging to be understood. You stop correcting people who benefit from misunderstanding you. Silence becomes your first weapon, not because you are afraid, but because information is currency and you no longer donate wealth. Restraint becomes your second. You learn that every visible reaction teaches others how to control you. Anger exposes your pressure points. Defensiveness reveals your insecurity. Excitement announces your hunger. You replace expression with calibration. Position replaces effort. You place yourself where decisions are made, not where labor is consumed. You align with outcomes, not with people. Chapter 6. Killing the good son. You were trained to be grateful, not powerful. You were taught that loyalty is virtue, obedience is strength, and sacrifice will someday be rewarded. This identity made you safe. It also made you small. The good son waits. He hopes. He tolerates disrespect because he believes endurance equals honor. He is easy to manage. Every system loves the good son. Families, companies, institutions, they all survive by feeding on men who confuse morality with submission. The good son protects everyone except himself. To rise, that identity must die. Not with anger, with clarity. You begin to see that approval is not love, it is permission. And permission can always be withdrawn. You realize that gratitude without leverage is dependency. Loyalty without power is servitude. The sovereign does not abandon relationships, he abandons illusions. He stops asking to be chosen. He becomes the standard. He no longer measures his worth by how useful he is to others, but by how difficult he is to replace. He understands that respect follows position, not intention. This transformation feels like betrayal at first. It feels cold, it feels selfish. But what you are actually betraying is the version of yourself that was built for someone else's comfort. You stop performing goodness. You start practicing sovereignty. You still act with discipline, but now it is strategic, not submissive. You still give loyalty, but only where leverage is mutual. You still show respect, but never at the cost of your authority. The good son wanted to be loved. The sovereign insists on being recognized. This is not cruelty, this is survival. When this identity replaces the old one, something changes in how the world responds to you. People speak differently, they test less, they negotiate more, not because you became louder, but because you became unmovable. The good son disappears, and in his place stands a man who no longer asks permission to exist. Chapter 7. The advice you will now give yourself. From this point forward, no one speaks for you, not your father, not society, not the past version of you that survived by obeying. You become your own authority. The advice you now give yourself is not comforting, it is precise, it is unsentimental. It is built for survival inside systems that reward clarity and punish hope. You tell yourself that intention means nothing without position, that effort means nothing without direction, that loyalty means nothing without leverage. You stop asking what feels right. You start asking what works. You no longer romanticize struggle. You study outcomes. You no longer defend your goodness. You protect your usefulness. You no longer chase approval. You design inevitability. You advise yourself to move quietly, to choose environments before choosing people, to build strength where no one is watching, to exit before explaining, to let silence do the work your words once tried to do. You remind yourself that most men fail not because they are weak, but because they are emotionally attached to being seen as good. You detach, not from humanity, from illusion. You stop trying to correct others. You start correcting your position. You stop hoping to be understood. You ensure you are undeniable. This is where